Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Nate Fakes here, and I'm with you on another fine episode of Cartooning Courses. And today I thought I'd switch it up a little bit. You know, cartoons, comics, anything you do illustration-wise typically has backgrounds, right? So I thought it'd be cool to do a nature background. I'm talking like, get your hiking boots and deers and ducks and birds in the sky, all that stuff type nature background. Okay, it's probably not going to be that elaborate, but it's going to be like a springtime background illustration of the style that I do things, and it's going to be nice and green. We're going to have leaves on the trees. We'll make it looking pretty good, I'd say. So, yeah, this should be a fun one. It'll be something kind of new. I'm not going to add any, human characteristics to it. It's all going to be nature. I might add a bird or two. We'll see how detailed we get. But anyways, as you know, I'm a big fan of using my trustworthy iPad Pro. If you don't have an iPad Pro, you don't have to be too heartbroken. You can definitely use a pencil if you want, and paper, a sketchbook. But I will be using the iPad Pro and also my nifty iPad pencil to go along with it today. And I'll be coloring in the iPad Pro as well. So I'm actually just going to be doing a screen sharing episode with you. But again, if you don't have any of those things, it's all good. Just use pencil, paper, and crayons or markers, whatever you feel like using today. It all works. So yeah, get that nature stick out. Is it called a nature stick? I don't know. Do they have those? Whatever you have. Get a nature jacket, nature something going, and let's get moving. You ready? Let's go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get moving here. Like I mentioned, I just want to do a quick kind of background type visual that you'd see typically in a cartoon, or it could be in anything, an illustration you're going to do for a client, anything. You know what? It doesn't matter. But this is just kind of your basic kind of sunny day, springtime illustration I'm going to do for you. So as always, I got my good friend Procreate out and my Apple Pencil ready to go. I know you won't be able to see the Apple Pencil on the screen, but you'll be able to see the marks that I'm doing. So what I'm going to do first to start off, hit the brushes up here and go to sketching. If you know how I kind of do things, I sketch things out first. I always use the technical pencil. It's the best way to go. I have it adjusted a little bit with the opacity at about 74 and the brush size at 25. I think that should be pretty good. And what I'm going to do is to start with the grass. And when I make grass, no, not the kind that you smoke, but the kind that is in meadows and stuff, I'm just really kind of sketchy with it, as you can see. I try to add a lot of little marks to it. And be as loose as possible with it. Don't take too much time. If you take a lot of time trying to make perfect looking grass, it's not going to look good. So just be real loose with it and kind of sketchy. So I'm going to start with that, and we're going to have that as your typical kind of grassy area. Next up, I'm going to create a tree over here on the left-hand side. Trees are one of my favorite things to draw. Why? Because you can do kind of whatever you want with them, and they can typically turn out decent. It's hard to mess up a tree. See the squiggly line? Doesn't matter. You can be as loose with them, and trees come in all shapes and sizes. So yeah, I think that's why I think they're fun to create. This particular tree, as you can see, I just have a few little branches sticking out. I got the big trunk on the bottom. And what I do then next is I put a little oval, I should say, kind of in the middle. And I don't do it with all my trees. You want to mix it up. If every tree I did had an oval in it, it would look a little awkward. But just add some bark to it and some cool little lines. And this is again using my pencil sketching, so it doesn't have to be perfect at all. We're gonna go back over all this. I also add some shadow kind of toward the bottom there. And then with the tree leaves itself, you can see it's more rounded, unlike the grass. I kind of go around and just do a real sporadic kind of, I don't know what you want to call them, just line work. It's real loose. Again, I don't spend a second thinking about it. You just go in and do it. And I also add some along the where the branches meet up and go into it. See what I did there? Like add a few there, and then in here they're honestly just scribbles, kind of like around where it's going to be a little shadowy, and real sporadic looking scribbly lines. Again, not taking any time doing them. And then add also a few of kind of the rounded lines like we did on the outside of the leaves, if that makes sense, the exterior. And again, we're going to go back into all that. So, okay, cool. We got a nice grassy field. We have a tree. You know what? Let's just add a big rock here too. Why not? You know what? It's a meadow somewhere. So I'm gonna add a rock, and as you see, the rocks are just more pointed lines, and I have a few minor details going into that. And then for the background, I think I'm just gonna make it kind of hilly, like that. And why don't we add one more big tree, like right in the middle here. Perfect. I'm gonna switch this up a bit. I'm gonna make the bark a little bit more kind of like the other one, and kind of go with the lines of the trunk and branches with the bark. You know, just make it kind of all come together. And with this one, I'm gonna have these leaves kind of come over in front of that one a little bit. Nothing too fancy, nothing too special, but there we go. And in the background too, you can add little marks on these hills just to give it a sense of, you know, something's going on back there. It's not just a flat surface. So, all right, cool. We have all this done. That was all done on layer 1. And again, I just used a pencil to sketch it all out. So what I'm going to do next is hit the little magic wand button up here, hit the opacity, and move this down to about, you can put it anywhere you want. I usually go down to, like right there is good, 35, just so it's not too dark. And what I'm going to do next is create a new layer, go back up to my brushes, and I'm going to do inking, and I'm going to do a technical pen. And I have this set at, I'm going to set it at 25% for the brush size, and then make sure the opacity is at 100% on that. Awesome. All right, now we're going to go in and do the grass. And just like when I sketched it, I'm going to be real loose with it. The Apple Pencil and Procreate, what's really awesome about it is the harder you press down the screen, the thicker the lines are. So you can see I have a nice little variation in there. And you may have to adjust your settings to get that kind of the way I have it. And it's easy to do. Once you have the software and you're, you know, playing around with it, drawing, it'll all come together. You'll be able to fine tune the pen how you like. And you may not want it to be as sensitive to where, you know, you touch down the screen too hard and it does that. It makes different line weight. And if you don't, awesome, no problem at all. You don't need to do that. So you can adjust that any way you want. But anyway, yeah, I went through and I just went on top of the grass. And next I'm going to do this tree. I'm going to start with kind of a thick bottom trunk. And then I'm going to get definitely not as solid lines on the top. And I'm going to fill these in just a little bit more than my sketches that I had with the pencil. Still really loose, nothing too crazy. And we're going to come in and do this part and do the trunk here. Awesome. Next, before I do the bark on the trunk, I'm actually going to go in and do these leaves real quick. And as you can see, I'm just following along with my sketches. Nothing too crazy, but get real loose with them. Even within the inking stage, you don't need to spend a lot of time trying to think about placement and all that good stuff of where you're going to put these leaves at. Just add some scribbly shadow effects to it. And then you see I have like the kind of rounded leaves around it too. And I think that's going to be perfect for that. Next, we're going to add the bark. And as you can see, I have just that little rounded area. And here is where like the line weight, I think, really kind of matters. You want to really kind of give it a little variation. But again, you know, you'll have, well, you do. You have your own style. And maybe you don't like that. And that's fine. That's no problem at all. All right, I'm going to give it kind of a shadowy effect here just by adding some extra lines. And you can see it's just, I kind of follow along with the branches, and I kind of do some crossover branches too. I'm going to do a few here also, like on the top. You can see that. Just give it kind of a shadowy effect to where it goes into the leaves. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go on to the next tree here. As you can see, it overlaps the other one. And since we are in the inking stage, you can go right over this pencil, and you know, you can see like that. You can see all the pencil right now, and it's gonna disappear with the click of a button. You'll see. It's amazing. It's like the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life. All right. And yeah, guys, as we go through this too, like, you know, I always say it every time, but like a broken record, I'll repeat myself. If you ever have any questions on like any of this stuff, how I do it, you know, like how to really fine tune the pen, or any questions like that, hey, leave a comment below. It's all good. I pride myself on being pretty decent at getting back to comments. And I try to answer all your questions on here. So if you do have any questions, definitely let me know. And I'm typically more than happy to answer. Hopefully I'll have an answer for you, because there's a lot to it. But at the end of the day, you know, I always say too, if you just pick up the iPad and practice, or on a piece of paper, it will get better. All right, as you can see, I'm in the background now, adding elements to this hill, and I'm going to take this down a notch from the original sketch there. And I'm going to add some quick little highlights back here. Again, just little dashes that indicate it's not just a flat, you know, surface. There's actually something going on there. And next we're going to fill in this rock. Take that down a notch. And you know, my rocks are really just, I always add these little kind of curvy lines, and then a couple of rugged kind of dashes in there too. Awesome. You know what? We are going to stick with that, because this is just going to be, again, kind of a background example for you. So now that we have the ink in, I'm going to take out the pencil work. I'm going to click layer 1, and then I'm going to hit the plus sign and add a layer, which is layer 3, and that's underneath layer 2, which is the inking layer, and above the pencils. So since it's below layer 2, which is, again, is the inking layer, anything below that isn't going to cover up my lines. So first thing I'm going to do is actually the sky in the background. We're just going to give it a nice blue sky, you know, for like a spring day, something that's kind of visually appealing and looks nice. We'll call it looking nice. So I'm going to go to my blue. I'm going to go to a real light blue. Then I'm going to drag it over on top after I highlighted that area with the S tool. I think you saw that. And there we go. We have a blue sky, and we are going to definitely mix it up, make it look nicer. But we're going to start with that. This is our base color. The next thing I'm going to do is the hill in the background. So I'm going to do a new layer above layer 3. Hit the little S tool. And again, I'm going to trace over the areas that I want to have filled in. So I'm going over the hills now, and you can see that little marquee showing up. indicating that, yes, I am tracing over it. And you can go into the grass here, it's okay. No problem at all, because it'll get covered up. I'm going to give this kind of a light, real light green, just in the background. And above layer 4, we're going to do layer 5, which is a new layer, and we're going to make this the grass. And again, I'm just going to trace over my ink and make this all, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. None of this has to be perfect. You know what I mean? It's grass. If you look out in your yard, for some of you, it might be winter time and maybe you don't see any grass out there. Or maybe you just have rocks or something in a big grass-free yard. But if you do have grass, you'll notice it's very loose and sporadic, and there's no real, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Just make it real loose. All right, but you can see I added a little bit darker, brighter green to this, the one in the foreground, the grass up there. And next we're gonna do a new layer, layer 6, and I'm gonna start actually with the leaves on the trees. So again, get the S tool. I know it's called something other than S tool, but you know what? I just go with that. I think it works. It looks like an S. Procreate will probably get a hold of me someday and be like, Nate, damn it, you moron. What are you doing calling it an S tool? It's not an S tool. It's called and they'll give me the specific term for it, which I don't know. I haven't even looked. I've never looked it up. I really don't care. So I see what it does, and that's what matters to me right now. Probably someday I should investigate and find out more. But meantime, we'll just call it an S tool. Now this tree, I'm going to make kind of like a brighter green. So I'm going to go with, like, you see where it's at right there? That green, drag it over, cool. That's for the tree more in the background. I'm going to, on the same layer, do the tree in the foreground. Again, trace over it. And as we do this, again, you know that it's happening because you see that little marquee moving right along with everything. And then out here, you know, you can see I just draw like out in the abyss of Procreate, doesn't matter. I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna lighten this up a little bit actually. Make it right about there, I think it's gonna be good. Nice, bright and shiny tree. Cool. All right, I'm gonna do a new layer, layer 7. And now we're gonna do the bark back here. And again, just like, you know, real loose with it. Go over the lines. Does not need to be perfect. I know I keep saying that, but I've taught a lot of live classes, especially with painting, not really on Procreate, but painting classes. And I'm amazed sometimes of how much time people spend on trying to make like a little area perfect, where they spend so much time on it that it actually looks awful by the time they're done. I've learned throughout the years, kind of, not, you don't have to be totally quick, but like, just go with your instinct. Don't think too much into it. And plus, when you start thinking too much into it, it takes the fun out of it. So, anyhow, just be kind of sporadic with a nature scene, you know? That's nature for you anyways. But anyway, as you can see, I made this into a brownish color. Again, I just dragged it over. Same layer, we're gonna do this tree over here. Trace over it. And go to the edge, go on top, go down to the bottom, and put that on top there. Cool. And actually on the same layer, I don't feel the need to switch up the layers on this because there's nothing overlapping with colors, if that makes sense. I'm gonna actually do the rock, so I'm just gonna make that a gray, go with kind of a light gray there. All right, unselect that. Whoa, look at that beautiful nature scene. You can imagine there's gonna be some deer and buffalo. I don't, depending where this is based at. There may not be buffalo, but anyway, it's coming along. You can see it developing. I'm going to go back to layer 3, highlight that, and then hit the plus tool. And this is going to be layer 8. This is our sky layer, so I'm going to go back over this with the S tool and marquee all this little area in the sky that I'm going to be working on. Okay, and the sky is a lot of fun. I have a good time with this. It's a new layer, so I go to my brush tool, I go to painting, and I like to use my water brush for this. So I click water brush, and I'm going to put the opacity at about 68% for that. I'm going to hold my finger on the background to get that color, and then I'm going to take it down just a notch. I'm going to put the brush size at about 71. And we're going to add some just background cloud areas to that. You see it? It's really faint, nothing too crazy. It's a little bit there. Then I'm going to go back to this and do a nice little faint yellow at the very bottom of the hill. Or not bottom of the hill, but in the background. And then underneath the dark spots, I'm going to highlight that just a little bit. Very faint, but you can see I've highlighted that part too. I'm going to unselect that. I'm going to go to my layer 4, plus mark to make a new layer. Where did I get plus size from? It's not a plus size, it's a plus symbol, I guess is what I was getting at. Okay, now I'm going to highlight the background here, and since I have the grass on a new layer, I can actually go right over that, it doesn't matter. I'm going to hit the brush tool, holding my finger on the background to get that color. I'm going to take it down a notch. On the brushes though, I'm going to use the round brush like this. And keep the opacity at, again, like about 70%. Put this at about 45% for the brush size. And at the bottom of the hills, I'm going to make darker, just to indicate that they're lighter on top. That's where the sun hits, so it's definitely just a little bit darker on the bottom. And then I'm going to have to take this up a notch to a lighter look, and on the very top add some highlights. You see that? It just comes in. It doesn't have to be all the way across, just a little bit here and there, some highlights. There we go. Deselect that. Next I'm going to go to my layer 5, hit the plus sign, and that's going to create layer 10 above that. I'm going to hit the S tool again, and this time we're going to do the nice grassy meadow and do some cool things with this to make it look so appealing that you'll see Bambi come out of the woods pretty soon, and Thumper, and maybe some dwarves. Or wait, no, that's a different movie, isn't it? Anyway, some nature animals and stuff will be coming right through here. Alright, so hold my finger on the grass. I'm going to bring this down a notch. I'm going to keep it at the round brush tool. And I'm going to put this at about 76%. And I'm going to start on the bottom, make this kind of dark here. And then I'm lightening up on, I'm not pressing down on the screen too hard then as I go up a little bit. I'm kind of taking that down. And then I'm going to move this at about a 26% and go kind of in the middle, add a couple dark highlights there. And then on the very top, I'm going to lighten this up and add some highlights on the edge, kind of like what we did with the mountains, and also some above the dark areas here too. And perfect. I think that's going to look good. So, all right. I like that. You see how I'm giving it like that wavy effect? Kind of. It's just me going left to right on the screen, kind of gently pressing down, not too hard. You don't want to make it like too light. Just a couple highlights here and there, kind of above the shaded area. And it gives it kind of that rolling meadow look, which I like. Perfect. I think that's going to look nice. All right, next we're going to go to layer 6, make a new layer by hitting the plus tool. That's going to be layer 11. I'm going to do the background tree first. And just like anything else, I'm just tracing over it. And this will look good. Awesome. Hit the brush tool, hold down on the iPad to get the color. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about once you start playing with this. You hold your finger down on the screen and it will choose that exact color. Okay, and what I'm going to do is make this pretty dark toward the bottom and in these shadowy areas where I have like a lot of the scribbles that I did. Make that fairly dark. Okay. Again, it's real sporadic. And then I'm going to kind of go in and tighten up, make it not so it's not so bright, but just on the outsides it's a little brighter. It's got some highlights to it. And just, go with your instinct. See what it looks right. Just give it kind of that shadowy effect in some areas. In fact, we can even take this down a little bit more, like through here. And I'm just kind of tapping on the screen in some parts, just to give it that real shadowy look. And that might be good. I'm going to deselect that. As you see, I've missed a little area over here, so I'm going to go back into that. And you can even, without highlighting it, go back in and do a few things. All right, and next we're going to do this other tree. In fact, I'm not even going to do the marquee around it. Let's go rogue. Let's just not even have the marquee around it. Just go freehand into it. If you go over the lines a little bit, it's not a major deal. This is a tree, and we can always erase it if it looks ugly, or if we do want to switch something up. No big deal. Again, I'm kind of like some of the scribbly areas. I don't have quite as many on this tree. Give it kind of the shadowy effect along the branches into here with a couple highlights, and you can go over it by not pressing too hard on some spots. Cool. Really like that. That's trees for you. They don't have to be perfect, but in the digital age, it's pretty simple to kind of pull off a decent looking tree. Nice. All right. We're going to leave it at that for the trees. Next, I'm going to do the trunks. I am going to highlight this area so I don't get it too crazy, like off track with it. So again, I have a new layer above the original brown fill-in that I did. And I'm just going to trace over this, like so. And trunks are a lot of fun. You can do a lot with them. I'm going to start by going dark on the left-hand side of it. Again, I'm still on the round brush. I haven't changed anything with that at all. The only time I used a different brush was for the sky. But with this, we're going to have the lights coming from the right of the tree. So we're going to make this a little bit dark on the left, and then toward the top too, dark. I'm just kind of going into that, adding some shadows just toward the top of this and along these branches too. You can add a little like toward the bottom, and then on the very bottom here also I'm going to have it kind of a little bit darker. All right. Next, we're going to lighten this up a lot. We're going to put it on, I'm going to move the brush size to about 16, just on the very edge. Make that pretty light. And we're not going to do too much with it. It's a little bit on the bottom branch here too. Just a little bit. And a little bit here. I think that's going to be good. There we go. I like that. All right. We're going to leave that branch like that, or the trunk, I should say. And with this one too, I'm going to not use the marquee tool. but I'm going to go dark on the left side over here. I'm going to raise up the brush size to, what is that, about a 50%, I think is good. Kind of dark on this side. And then we're going to lighten it up. I'm going to move this down to about a 20% over here. So the light's kind of coming directly kind of more in the middle area of this drawing is the light source. We're going to add some more shadow effects. I'm going to drop that down to a darker brown just up here on the top areas and then right in here too. In this particular trunk. I'm going to darken that up a little bit. All right, I think that's good. We are going to do some final touches on this rock here. Hold that down. I'm going to bring it into a darker gray and just add some real shadowy effects toward the back. Keep it lighter on top, so don't press down as hard the further up you go. And you can add some, like, kind of tap the screen a little bit, add some rugged effects to it. You know, it is a rock, so it's not going to be perfect. Cool. I like that. Keep the top kind of highlighted. I'm going to make it just a little bit darker, like toward the very bottom. As you see, like, you know, I'm totally going through this pretty quick, but hey guys, like, that's it. That's your kind of basic background, you know, for cartooning and illustration. You know, I could go back in this all day long and like really fine tune a lot of little details, and you know, like right now we can actually, let's do a couple more highlights on the grass back here, maybe, not much. Just to kind of really liven that up and separate it. It's the only thing I can see that could use some help, maybe just a few more in here. Otherwise though, that is your basic, like, kind of just springtime sunny background with some green trees, a nice little rock in front, a hill in the background. You know, nothing perfect, it's nothing crazy. If you look at this, it's nothing you can't do. It's nothing that's too out of the ballpark, crazy, like detailed or anything like that. This didn't take much time to do. You know, you can add your characters in the front of it. You could reuse this background as many times as you want, you know, depending what you're doing. You know, if you're doing storyboard arts, illustration, whatever. Add some birds in the background if you want. Add a cute little fuzzy squirrel. Add a lion mauling a zebra. That could be fun too. Anything you want to do with this, it's kind of sweet. And it's just, you know, it's my typical kind of basic background. And I just want to show you guys kind of like what I do with trees and you know, just rocks and grass and everything in general. And as you can, again, real simple, easy to do. But hey guys, I'm going to wrap it up at that. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you followed along with me, you know. I've always said if you give it a shot, get some practice in, you'll be able to nail this eventually. And maybe you got it down now and just this has added some new techniques to help your day out when you create these, or maybe not. But anyhow, end of the day, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you subscribe. I have a free cartooning course. If you haven't checked that out yet, do it. It's not only about drawing cartoons, it's about marketing and the whole shebang, and I'm adding some more with that too. So the link's below. Check that out if you haven't signed up for that yet. But more videos coming. Meantime, guys, go grab a picnic cloth and pack a lunch and go out to a meadow and have a picnic. Why not? Hey, I'm inspired to do so after this, right? All right, guys, we'll talk to you next time.